Hello. Lindsay Dollinger here with my friend, Holly Boyce. And guys, I'm so excited for you to meet her. I met Holly in our mastermind that we are just finishing up from 2020 to beginning of 2021. So we met virtually for a really long time. And then we had the pleasure of meeting in person at a retreat. Oh my gosh, it was almost a month ago now.
Yeah.
Ish, like 3 weeks. A month-ish. Yeah. Anyway, it was almost a month ago. I can't believe it. So Holly is the host of, or hostess, I always get confused by that, but host of the Surviving Life podcast. And she's also a health and wellness coach. So I'm super excited for you to hear her story and hear all the tidbits she is going to give us today. So Holly, welcome.
What's up? Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited to be here and see your shining face again. I feel like we're like long lost sorority sisters that I never got to be in a sorority, but if I was, I would have been in yours.
Yeah, Avi. Of course you would have been. We would have been sisters. Holly, so tell us how you got to do all the hats that I just mentioned. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how you got to where you are at today.
Oh man. Well, it was a cold day in 1979. No, I'm just kidding. Well, first off, I guess I should start back 10 years ago. I had breast cancer. I found a lump accidentally on Thanksgiving Day as I was kind of adjusting my shirt, and it was like a ping pong ball under my right breast or inside of it. And it was huge. I mean, I was shocked. I was like, what the heck is this thing? It moved around and all that good stuff. And then, fast forward about a month, December 22nd, they were like, we need to take this out and we're going to biopsy it when we take it out. And so I was like, first available appointment, I'll take it. I don't care. Probably looking back, I should have waited till after Christmas because unfortunately that's how non-cancer I was thinking this thing was. Yeah. And so they took it out, and sure enough, 3 days before Christmas, I find out I have cancer and kind of put a little bit of a damper on Christmas that year. At the time, my kids were only 2 and 5, so they were little babies, and I was 30.
And you were so young.
Yeah. Just turned 30 and was like, okay, well, here we go. I guess now I'm a cancer patient today, and that was insane. And, fast forward 10 years or so and a whole lot of chemo and radiation and the whole 9 yards of treatment. I'm now 10 years cancer-free, which is very cool.
Yay.
Very happy.
Yay.
And a whole lot smarter. I like to think anyway. But yeah, so I way back 10 years ago when I found out I had treatment or had to go through treatment, I was in the family service field. So I was working with at-risk youth and families, helping them make healthy life choices, help them kind of be ready for schooling and things like that in the future. I was working in the early childhood field with family services. And I finished my cancer treatment and I just didn't want to do that anymore. I mean, I felt like I was dropped back into my old life, probably very similarly to people feeling right now post-COVID. Yeah. They're like having to go back and do all these jobs that they used to do and everything used to work before. And all of a sudden it just didn't. And I was this different person in my same life and was kind of forced to deal with this new normal. And when I did that, I decided, I was like, I don't want to be in this field anymore. And I loved it when I went in, but it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so I decided to kind of go into health and fitness because I wanted to be on the planet as long as possible. That's really the only motivation that I had was like, well, I want to learn how to eat healthy, exercise. And I was pretty much, I wouldn't say that I was unhealthy before, but I just really was more interested in remaining on the planet as long as, the good Lord allowed me to be.
Yeah.
So I switched careers and decided to go into health and fitness. People laughed at me. They were like, isn't that like a hobby or something? And I was like, no,
that's so rude.
I know. People will just like, look at your direct selling business. You go into you're all excited to start this direct selling business. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to be doing nails and look at all this stuff. And I'm going to make money and doing something that I love. And it's fun. And people are like, oh, well, isn't that like a hobby? Like, that's not a job. And they just kind of like I don't know. I don't know if it's just because sometimes people, what they can't do, and they don't think is possible in life, they project out onto you. And so that really is what I think, is what was happening, I guess. But just like anything, I just had to take that little, with a grain of salt and go, well, here, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care what you say. And luckily I
Good
did.
for you, girl. Yeah.
It was hard though. I mean,
it is hard.
It's the same type of deal. And then I just was like, doing a lot in the health and fitness world. I was a personal trainer, and still am a certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, all that good stuff. And I worked in gyms. I worked out of my garage for a while, like doing my own thing. And I just finally got to the point after 6 years of opening my own personal training studio, training cancer patients, and was literally living my dream life. I thought I had everything I had ever worked for. And then COVID hit. And then I had to close my studio down. And then I was, faced with yet another, this time the transition was not because I wanted it. It was because it was forced. And so that led me to kind of sit and reevaluate what I was doing. And I had always wanted to podcast, and had all the equipment and all that good stuff. And I had a lot of time on my hands in quarantine. And so I'd go hide in my closet and record podcasts. And when I released them, people were like, oh, this is really good. You have a really good voice. And I'm laughing because I've hated my voice my whole life. Like everything about it. I hate it.
What? I love your voice.
Just so weird. I'm like, oh, that's a weird thing to say. I'm like, I have a face for radio, I guess.
You do look very radio-esque right now in the video, guys. If you're listening on the podcast, she's got her like set up. She's got her, what do you call it? Like the spit guard. I have one of those upstairs.
It's called a pop filter. And I was looking for my headphones. I don't have I usually have my big old headphones on too, but I don't have those today.
Yeah, I did all of that for like my first month of recording, and now I got so lazy. I have like my AirPods in. I'm using like Zoom and GarageBand. I'm like, it's good enough.
I love it. And podcasting was something that I had no idea I was going to love so much. And I had no idea that people were actually going to like it and let alone download it and listen to it,
Right.
So I was like, well, I guess we're going to go down a new path. And the health and wellness stuff will never leave, which is why I still do health and wellness coaching. And I still am definitely very much in that world, keeping my certifications and all that stuff, because that is still very important to me. And so that's where I am, and how now I just kind of get to talk to people all day long, and it's pretty awesome.
You're like, this is my dream life. Yeah. Well, I just love how you've pivoted. You've pivoted every time that something doesn't align or your passions change. I love that you weren't, and I'm sure you felt very afraid, but lots of people let their fear of changing things or of other people's opinions or XYZ stop them from doing the things that they're passionate about. But at least what it appears, you have not done that. And I respect that so much, because a lot of people cannot say that. A lot of people are stuck in jobs that they hate because they're afraid to leave them. A lot of people, it's just so many things. Yeah. And you're like, well, let's give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then we'll pivot again. Right?
Yeah, it is good. It is good. And it is very frustrating at times as well. So, I mean, I'm definitely human. And luckily I don't project too much of that out on social media. So you probably wouldn't have seen that. My poor husband now, he may tell you a different story, like crying. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But I really think part of the reason I was able to do that is I could probably date it back to cancer, maybe even before that, but I've always been kind of living a survivor's life in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I had a fantastic childhood, but then I had this really toxic relationship pop in there and kind of went into this survival mode finally was able to, move out of that. And then, here I am dealing with cancer, and then finally move out of that. And then my husband loses his job, and then we have to move out of that. And so I've always had to kind of do that. So I would never choose those things. I would unfortunately I'm good at it because I've had to do it so many times, but it's not necessarily by choice. But what I've done, I think, at the end of each of these times, or even in the middle of these times, is tried to take something from all the things in life. So if it's a great moment of my life, I'm going to take a lesson from that. And how can I have more moments like this? And if it's a really crappy time of life, then I'm going to take a lesson like, how do I not do that again? And then I'm going to tell everybody because I don't want you to waste your time. Like, don't waste as much time as I have. If you can learn anything, like just,
I tell that to my team so much. I'm like, this is what happened to me when I did XYZ, or when I wasn't doing this in my business, I got this results or these lack of results. Like, you don't have to listen to me. You can do it however you want, but I'm just letting you know, this is my experience. And
I think everyone's different, heard it. You've heard it once before. And so even if you do go start to make those decisions again, you might stop a little bit quicker than you would have before. And my definition of success has always been that successful people correct quicker. So it's not that we don't make mistakes. It's not that we don't do things wrong or, fail. I hate fail as a word, but it's not that we don't do any of those things, but we catch ourselves faster every single time. And I take that same approach with health and fitness. It's not about not ever making the wrong choice. It's more about catching yourself in the moment, figuring out why you're making that choice, what's making you automatically make that choice, because it's usually baggage. It's usually, things that we've brought with us from the past, or it's a pattern of behavior that's been working for you in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's a good pattern or not, doesn't matter. It's just been working. And the only way you can break a pattern of behavior is to recognize it and then do something different over and over and over again until then the new behavior is automatic. And then,
So Holly knows this because she's actually my health and fitness coach. I just hired her and I started her small group coaching program. But in case everyone else didn't know that, now you do. So Holly, will you share kind of along the lines of what you just mentioned about bad habits? Because I feel like I don't have necessarily like the baggage tied to like eating poorly or not working out that maybe some other people might identify more with, but mine is just more those bad habits. Yeah. So especially as a busy, I've been thinking about Disney too much. I'm talking about a busy,
I like it.
A busy entrepreneur who's working full time. I have my direct sales business. I have my coaching business. What are some tips for other women like me who have these bad habits, whatever they are, eating poorly, not sleeping enough, or just anything with their health and putting it on the back burner? What are some things that we can do to help change those bad habits to our good habits, the things that we want, so that we can perform better?
Yeah. So I kind of break down my term health into three pieces. So I look at it from a fitness, like physical movement piece. And then I look at it as a nutrition piece. And then I look at it as a mindset, as its own separate area, because those three pieces to me are kind of like, what I think it was Michelle said, the golden triangle of, like if you have all three of those pieces, you're good to go. But I look at those in three different areas. And so what I think you first have to really do is you have to look at those things, a hard look at those things yourself, and go, if I was going to give myself a score 1 to 10 in fitness, in food, and in mindset, what would it be? And, no judgment as to what it is, if it's a 1 or if it's 10, doesn't matter. But a quick like judgment of what it is for that moment. And then what's going to make it better? So like, okay, say fitness, we go 5. I'm just feeling like I have a 5 in fitness right now. All right. Well, like what would make it go up to a 10? What would even make it go up to a 7? Just a couple points more. Well, most of the time we can kind of break that down and self-analyze what it is that we need. It's just the accountability piece that we don't always follow through with. But in terms of fitness, as long as you're moving your body every day, ideally, I mean, every day. I know that's people are like, what? She's saying 7 days a week. But I don't mean like run marathons every day. I just mean like, let's move. I mean, that could be 3 10-minute breaks of squats in between your clients or in between whatever it is that you're doing at work or school or wherever you're at in the day. Or it could be an hour long, workout session. But moving your body daily is really important. Also for your brain, like if you're sitting for a long period of time, to break that day up and really get the most out of your brain and your productivity, you're going to need little breaks to get your heart rate up anyway. So I love those cordless jump ropes. You can like jump rope and do your just 5 minutes of marching around the room, jump roping, and just to get that little spike in heart rate and really go back to whatever it is that you're doing and be more productive. In terms of fitness, food is an interesting one because we all have our own history of where we've come from with food. Sometimes food is used as big celebrations. Sometimes food is this big no topic, like, you have to eat this, and this. And sometimes it's very tied with, family beliefs and cultural beliefs. And there's so many things and layers with food. But I think what you really need to do is look at it like, is what I'm doing in my food right now serving me? Is this working? I mean, because most of the time we can answer that pretty honestly. We can go, well, no,
not really. Yep.
Or it's working fine, whatever. And if it's not, if you really even have any tiny inkling that it's not, and most of us could probably improve on this area anyway. Almost everybody. I mean, our American diet is not super fabulous anyway, but just little habit changes are going to go a long way. But being consistent with those little habit changes. So one thing that I've told you guys and the group coaching program is really planning out anything that you're going to have. So you don't have to think about it. You're busy. All of you guys that are listening to this show, I'm sure are busy. This may or may not be your second job or your side hustle, or maybe your full-time job. You're busy all day long. We're making decisions over and over and over again. So the least amount of decisions that we can make, the better, right? So we want to have everything just almost on autopilot in a healthy way. And when we can go on autopilot in a healthy way, and I have a drawer full of snacks that are already packaged, that's one thing I tell people all the time. I'm like, get a handful of different healthy snacks in a clear container in your pantry or in your drawer at work or whatever, immediately, wherever you're at most of the day. Do like little tiny Ziploc bags of carrots already made. Do like, if you're going to make granola bars or like the little, oh my gosh, I can't think what they're called right now.
The balls, the protein balls.
Yeah, the balls, the energy
balls. It's the balls.
Energy bites. If you're going to make them and bag them up ahead of time, or if you're going to go to the store and buy healthier snacks with low sugar content, ideally, the less sugar, the better. Put those all in a container so they're grab and go ready. So that way, when you don't have time, you're rushing out the door, you didn't have time for breakfast, you can at least grab something that you've got healthy options that are ready to grab and go. Why do you think we always choose the things on the shelf? Because they're ready. They're already packaged. They're pre-packaged, ready to grab. Of course, I can grab like a granola bar full of sugar or bag of fruit snacks or something. Like, hopefully that's not what you're eating for breakfast. But I mean, like, think about your kids. If you have kids, it's the same thing. That's the things that they're grabbing and going because that's what's there. So if we do that with intention, with some healthier options already made, then we're going to have a lot more success. And that's a tiny change that you can do that will go a long way over time.
It's just that planning and that prepping for sure.
Yeah.
Like when you just said that about carrots, I'm like, I have a bag of carrots in there that I need to wash and put in little baggies. And they've been in there since Saturday.
Are they in the drawer of death at the bottom?
Yep. They're in the drawer of death. And I didn't even remember I had them until you just said that. And I was like, dang it, I meant to put them in baggies so I can grab them for lunch.
I have one in there too. I have a bag of carrots in my drawer of death as well that I just, oh, wow. I just now remembered. See? They're no different. But you know what's funny is here's what happens. And this is a perfect example of what happens. I order all my groceries and have them delivered through Instacart. It just saves me time. And I'm like, just like you, I'm busy all day long doing something. So I don't want to go to the store. But even if you go to the store, as soon as you get home or as soon as your order's delivered, wash them and put them in the bags, because this is exactly what just happened to me. I bought that stuff last week and had it delivered last week. And then I threw it down there because I didn't have time that particular moment to do it. I'm like, I'll do it later. And here I am. I mean, they're still okay to eat, but they might not be for much longer if I don't do something about it. Right?
Got to get those out. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's so easy to do. That drawer of death, I hate that drawer. I think fridges need to be changed completely.
They do. They need to put that drawer up at the top so I can like see it.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I noticed. If you have kids and this is very, very much true, but even ourselves, if you have those carrots bagged and ready to go and you have little cups of hummus from Costco right next to it, or if you just have, I like to a lot of times chop up celery and put a little bit of cream cheese on it. But if I have it already done and I can just grab it, and I will be 10 times more likely to eat it. When I did that for my kids the first time, they would never eat the carrots that were in the bottom of the drawer, the drawer of death or whatever. But the second I started bagging them and putting them in up at eye level, as soon as they open the fridge, that's what they see. They ate all of them every time. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
this is crazy. Because what we see in front of us is what we are immediately thinking. We're just that kind of society now, like instant, we need it done. So if you can be intentional about the snacks and the food and the things like that you're having, it's helpful. And I think if you schedule time to plan your food, just like you schedule time to do everything else in your life, that's what we do each week is we'll sit down and go, okay, this is what I'm going to have for the week. I'm going to get my grocery list made as a result of what I've just planned for my meals. And then I'm going to plug in my workouts on my calendar, like their doctor's appointments, because that's an appointment with myself.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
Yeah, it's helpful, I think.
And I don't use Instacart just because we live so far away. But now I'm wondering if I sit down and plan everything out and then at least just order pickup for me to pick up something. I'm like, that might be so good, because then I'm not buying stuff that's not on my meal plan list. You know what I mean? And plus it saves time. And I've always liked going to the grocery. I know that sounds really weird. It's kind of like my
yeah, no, I know.
Get around and walk, especially if I go to like the Target grocery where I'm really going to Target, not really the grocery part of it, know? But I'm like, as far as being better about making choices, that definitely might be something I need to try out for sure.
I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful too, because you're not wandering around the store going, oh, I could totally make this with that. And then this would be good. And then you go like, if you go when you're hungry to the store, bad news. Bad news. You're like, I want all the things, right? Mm-hmm. But if you go and you do a pickup, well, I think you'll save money too, because you're not going to make those.
Oh, for sure.
And then you can schedule your Target appointments for another time, or right before your grocery pickup. You can wander around Target and then pick up your food on the way out. But stay off the food side.
That's smart. I mean, I'm going to try that. I will. It is Target. I'm like Target time, Marshall's time. I make it like a whole
Are yours like right
outing
too? Is that a thing? Because so are ours are as well. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they do that on purpose.
They're still the same. Interesting.
Yep.
I love Target.
Okay, so then the third thing you were talking about is mindset. Yes. What are some mindset tips you can have for us?
So I would say the base of everything probably everything that I've ever done in my life has stemmed from gratitude. And I think that's a really good place to start. And it sounds really simple to just go, well, be grateful for something every single day. But it actually is, it really is like a muscle. And it's more than just saying, I'm thankful for my kids, or I'm thankful for, this podcast opportunity, or whatever it is. It's more than that. It's actually making an intentional time where you're going to write that down. So, when I had cancer, 10 years ago, I sat there on day like 3 after I found out and cried my eyes out, right? I bargained with the Lord and said, just take this away and I'll do whatever you want or whatever. And then, I'm like, well, and then I got mad, and then I was like, why isn't someone in jail having cancer instead of me? And, like trying to, I don't know what I was trying to do. I was just mad.
I get it. Yeah.
And it's probably the same watching someone go through it. You're like, this isn't fair. Yeah. Like, I'm a good person. I shouldn't have to deal with cancer. And so I had my time to do all that and feel all the emotions. And I think that's the key. If you're going to go with gratitude in your life, you still have to feel your emotions. Gratitude doesn't replace feeling emotions. And a lot of people think that it does. And that's where like positivity and gratitude turns into like a toxic that was actually my podcast a couple days ago, but it's all about that particular piece, but it can really turn if you don't feel your feelings. So still feel your feelings, but be intentional every day to take a moment of time to be thankful for something. And like I said, when I was in the middle of cancer, I had my moment where I was losing it and everything was bad. And then I kind of decided, you know what? I got to do something different. I got to be the best cancer patient they've all seen. They're crying enough. I don't need this. Yeah. I don't want them to be sad, and I don't want to be sad this whole time. So I started writing in this journal. Every day I forced myself to write something down that was good. And this is literally in the middle of chemo treatment. So there were days that I came home and I was like, I'm really thankful my kids' lungs are working because they screamed at each other all day, but I know they're working because they're loud, just sarcastic things. And then there were other days that were really, really more heartfelt. And then there were other days I was like, I'm really glad I don't have hair today because it's a hot day. It's 100 outside, or but stuff like that. Yeah. But what happened was there was some forced days where it felt very forced and the gratitude didn't feel real. But I made my mindset create a new habit, and I wasn't going to deviate from that habit. So I looked for something every day, even on the worst days when I'm not, I didn't throw up today, stuff like that. Yeah. Starting with, even in my life is in complete chaos, and I'm finding something every day. And after like 2 or 3 months, my entire outlook on the world changed. And it wasn't that any of those problems went away. I still had every single one of those problems. I still had no hair. I still had all the stuff. But the way I was looking at the world changed. And the more I looked for gratitude in the day, the more good things came to me to be noticed. Because what I know about mindset, because I've studied this for 25 years, I've studied the brain in some way, shape, or form. And your brain wants to support you. That's all it wants to do. Your brain's job is to support whatever you say is reality. So if you say reality is, I am, too big in these jeans, or if you say I've put on too much weight, or I am ugly, I am fat, I am skinny, I am too whatever, whatever you want to insert in there, whatever you say, your brain's job now is to find evidence of that. So the more you say it, the more your brain supports you with lots of evidence. So the time that's here, like, I look so fat in these pants. I can't stand the way I look. And look how, so what is that bringing to my attention? How big I look in my clothes, right? So guess what my brain is going to do? Find everybody that's smaller than me and point them out to me personally in the world. And like, oh, look at her. Look how cute she looks in her clothes. Oh, her pants look really nice on her. Too bad you don't look like that. Like just more evidence, for your, whatever your theory on life is. And I look at, it's almost like your brain's like Facebook, right? You know how the algorithms change?
Yeah, it does for sure. Especially if you're a woman.
Exactly.
I feel like women's brains definitely works different.
Yeah. But your brain does the same dang thing as Facebook. It's just going to keep putting things in front of you that whatever you said is true. So here you go. And
oh my gosh.
it's amazing how when we change that wording and we start looking for all the good things in the world, and then we start changing like our inner, the way we talk to ourselves and our inner dialogue, it's amazing how everything in front of us starts to change, because that's what we're looking for. And so if I start looking for all the amazing things in the world in my worst moments of my life, I've now trained my brain and created a new habit and a new thought. I want more evidence that the world is great. And here it is. Every day I get more than enough evidence to show me that this world is pretty, I almost said a bad word, awesome. I don't know if you're allowed to cuss on here. So.
Dang it, Holly, I would have had to edit my show for the first time.
No, not going to do it. Not going to do it. I will catch you.
We get what you're throwing down. I love that so much. So I never really thought of mindset as being mindset until I discovered the whole like personal development realm once I got into business a few years ago. But I knew what it was, just in a very similar way of what you said. When my mom got diagnosed, I never saw her cry. She cried. Well, I'll take this back. She cried the day she got diagnosed. And I remember I was like, gosh, I would have been 10. And I was sitting on the steps and I heard her get the phone call that she had cancer. And I knew she was waiting for it. And she cried. She called my dad and she was crying. But when I came down the steps, she was not crying anymore. And then the next time I saw her cry was probably, well, it wasn't even from her cancer diagnosis. It was a surprise party we had for her birthday. And she cried, and it was the only surprise party. It was the only birthday she'd ever had. And it was the year before she died. And I then cried because I had no idea that she had never had a party besides with our immediate family. But she was just always so positive and, we're going to get through this. And there was never, one doctor would say that she wasn't going to make it or, whatever. And so then she found another doctor who did all these treatments and stuff. And, she lived 16 years battling cancer, all but 5 of that. She was in remission for 5 and it came back. And then we've known other people, even family members, who got a cancer diagnosis. And the first thing that they did was buy a hospital bed and take off work. And it's just the mindset of like, a lot of people didn't even know my mom had cancer. She went, she went and did her chemo and she went back to work. And like, just seeing how, and I'm not saying that either way is a wrong way to cope with things. But I definitely think there's something to be said for that positivity and like, I'm not going to let certain obstacles bring me down and we're going to keep pushing and fighting. And that was how I saw mindset without really knowing what mindset was growing up. And I really like, it can make or break, I think, your entire life, how you go through your entire life if you go through it with a bad mindset.
That's so true. And it was really hard to not cry. And here's why. Like, because I was a mom of kids when I found out I had cancer, and it was my only mission other than like not exit the planet or anything like that to make sure that their lives were not affected. I did not want them to even realize what was going on. And they were little, obviously they were really little, but I never wanted them to feel like anything was crazy abnormal. And, so I totally understand why your mom was like that. And I'm sure she did have tears elsewhere. Because just knowing myself and as positive as I was, there was times when I just wanted to go off by myself and let all that out. Because it is human nature to do that and to feel those feelings, but I didn't want my kids to see that. And I think that now they're older, we can talk about it and they know that I wasn't like super strong and happy and all that all the time, because now we talk about that and we talk about like how that looked or whatever. But I really do think that there is something to be said for the way that you are looking at the world is the way the world's going to show up for you. And did you ever read that book, like The Secret, back in the day? It's old. It's an older self-help
I did.
book, right?
And there's a Netflix documentary, right?
Yeah, it's all about like kind of manifesting the things that you want or whatever. But I think the thing about that that book and about that whole concept is truly like, whatever you say, there's a quote, it's like, whatever you can or can't do, you're right. Like if you say you don't have enough time to start a side hustle, you're right. If you say that you are not good at talking to people, you're right. If you say that you can't lose weight and you've done everything you possibly could ever think about doing, you're probably right. Because you don't have the mindset. And even if you have to lie to yourself for a little while, which sometimes you do. I mean, I've done it to myself.
Make it till you make it.
I am confident. I am confident as I'm shaking,
Right.
But you have to keep telling yourself those things. And the more you tell yourself those things, the more your brain is going to present you evidence that you're like, oh yeah, remember that one time I jumped off the stratosphere? I was super scared, but I did it anyway. I'm pretty dang confident in myself that I'm not, that I can make good choices and things like that. And so it's like it's a lot of our world around us, whether it be health, fitness, whether it be our businesses that we're growing, it's our mind and it's our behavior patterns. If we have behavior patterns that aren't supporting us, it's not that they're bad or good. They're just not supporting us in the thing that we want to do next. It may have worked in our last life, our last chapter, but it's not working now. So you've got to upgrade. Just like the best phone on the planet has to be upgraded every now and then.
That it does.
People listening. And no, I don't work for iPhone, but I really should because I support them big time.
I know it's about time for an upgrade for me. Actually,
I know, me too. Well, because it's about time. Everything on my phone is running slow, right? Everything is starting to go a little bit slower. It's not working as well. And now I've seen this like upgraded version. It's got a better camera. It's got more space. It's all these things. Why can't we upgrade ourselves a little bit? Up level a little bit.
That's right. We deserve that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Holly, I appreciate your insight and sharing all your stories and everything so much in your time today. Tell everyone how they can connect with you. Where can they find you?
You can go to listen to the podcast at survivinglifewithholly.com, or you can go to my website at hollyboyce.com. I hang out mostly on Facebook and Instagram. I am kind of big in TikTok, but I had to cut back on my TikTok because I was forgetting to pick up my daughter from school because I was on TikTok. Yeah,
that's the best thing I've ever heard.
And I don't even think I told you this. Do you know what I did when I forgot to pick up my daughter from school because I was on TikTok looking at TikToks? I made a TikTok about it. And it was my all-time favorite human, Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again. And
of course.
Yes, I know.
Did it go viral?
No, but I wish it would have. It really would. I have one that is viral for me. And it was a 90s dance video that I did with my daughter and her friend. And there was like 24,000 views. And my kids thought I was like awesome for like a second. And then they were like, it's just because the algorithm likes you. And I'm like, no, it's because I'm amazing. And my 13-year-old daughter hates that I'm on TikTok because her friends think I'm motivational. Cool. And and so she doesn't like that. So I try to get on there often because of that purpose.
You're being a good mom. More good mom tips. Yep.
So TikTok, I'm on there somewhere. I don't even know what my name is, honestly. I think it's Holly Boyce 411 or Holly Be Fit. I don't know.
Guys, I will get all of her links.
Just find me.
I'll put them in the show notes for you so you can just scroll down and click and find Holly. Go give her some love on some TikToks. I never let myself scroll through TikTok or IG Reels. And I did on Saturday night. Do you guys have daylight savings time?
Yeah.
Okay, we do too. So I did that on Saturday night for an hour. I was up in my bed. It's like 3 a.m. because of the time change. I am like cracking up. I'm like, this is why I don't waste time on this.
Yep. The last time I was on there, I spent 2 hours looking at free Britney Spears material. And I am very well educated on the Free Britney movement now because I accidentally spent 2 hours looking at it. And I'm like, what did I just do? I'm so busy. I can't do this anymore. So I paused it for just a little bit, but I'll go back.
Oh my gosh. I got to find that documentary still, but okay, guys. Well, we will cut it off here. Have a great day, rest of your day if you're listening to this on the podcast. And Holly, thank you again so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great one, guys.